When I started the film, when I had the project, I followed the situation that was at that time. And it was Daesh, ISIS, and this war and what was happening there was so important. And I found, I had the idea, I found it interesting, especially to use this place like Mosul, because of this, the situation of God there, you know, Allah, I mean, fundamentalism, I found, because AI, artificial intelligence, is a kind of, you can say, a transcendence, a kind of a God, you can say, and probably it will compete, it has already started, it will compete the other kind of godness, you know. So I decided, I had the feeling that I should go there and start my film there. Also, because this territory, and especially Mosul, was destroyed. And in this film, I didn't really want to explain why there was a war in Syria, or this and that. I wanted to use the situation as a metaphor of our own human condition, because it is also destroyed in a certain way. And we all face some destruction, high level, ecology, whatever you name it. We face that human being is threatened by something which is very deep and multiple. There are multiple traits now, and I use this place as a metaphor of this situation.
But going back to Paris was a spontaneous decision, or
you know, in all of my films, it's the same. I never work with a project, a clear project. I always try to serve the situation and try to listen to the situation. It's just intuition first. Back when I came the first time in Romania, that's why I'm here. You know, I just follow intuition, and it opened my life, and then it became my life. And when I make film, I process the same way. I don't prepare my film at all. I just jump in the situation, and I try to find my way. I didn't know the people that I met when I was at met, like this Juma, the sculpture in Raqqa, for instance. I didn't know that something would happen in France. Nobody could imagine such a thing. But at that time, I was editing some footage from Raqqa, and then you had this demonstration, this protest in Paris. And after 2-3 weeks, at first I didn't really follow this protest because they were in the street for reasons that for me was not so important. So I didn't follow the story. But when they started to destroy something on the Champs-Élysées, it was a big situation, big chaotic situation. Then I said, wow, what do you think, Sota? Maybe your story has a connection with what's going on there. That would be interesting also to, even if it was not so easy when I started to shoot, to make a connection with what I filmed. Of course, it is not the same war, that you cannot compare the Yellow Vest movement and what happened with Daesh. But for me, there was a connection. And sometimes, you know, when you make a film, and if you are, maybe the life is the same sometimes, you work on a project and you spend time, you are patient, it's like if the reality just feeds your expectation, just serve your own expectation. I had no idea. The same thing happened when I got injured. I've never been injured in war zone, and I took risk 10,000 times. Nothing happened. Then it was in Paris. It's something which was, for me, it was very interesting in this film, especially because, as you have seen, the robot, I bring this robot, you can see dead bodies, you see when they are looking for the dead people in the houses. It's something, for me, very important, because at the end, what difference, the big difference between what we still are and this kind of technology is the body, the organism, the fact that we will die, the blood, the emotion. It is sometimes something that we want to escape from. We want to be, we don't want to suffer, we don't want sometimes we don't want to have blood and to have injuries, but at the end, it is maybe our most precious things as a human being. The day we lose this, we won't be a human being in the way we are still now. So I had this idea when I filmed, and then when I got injured, I found quite funny in a certain way that it happened to me is this film. After having filmed in Mosul, Raqqa, those people trying to find the dead body in the houses. Like if the reality also came to me and, you understand?
Yeah,
Talk to me.
So I think this is also what struck me in the film the first time and now again. The fact that you show these, of course, the horrors of war, but at the same time you frame it with also this kind of humor moments and kind of shows the banality of war also. The banality of evil, what we call the banality of evil, and also normalization of war. But at the same time, it also shows kind of the people's resilience. So it's not just the banality of the war, but also the resilience of people who can be happy, who can be enjoy music and love and whatever, even within this context. So I was wondering if this is something that came from SOTA, from working with SOTA, or it's how you work with war documentaries in general.
Well, it comes from SOTA, but just for a part. You know, when you go to war situation, I don't know if people here have experience of this. It's the same with the revolution at that time in this country. You know, it's not simple. There is no simple reality. Human reality is always complex, and the war is very complex because it's a human process. The animals, they don't make war, so it's a human process. It's pushed to its extreme. So you have everything in a war. Of course, if you are a victim in the war, for you, you're unlucky and it's very bad. But in the war, you also have solidarity, a very strong friendship. I had a discussion before with someone, I don't know her name, but I had a discussion about this, you know. Sometimes bad situations create good consequences, not on the first step, but in the second or third step, you have some good consequences from tragedy. Sometimes a good situation creates bad consequences after 2 or 3 generations. You understand? It's very complex. So in the war situation, you have everywhere you go. I was in Ukraine the 2 last months. It's mixed. You have everything. I was in Bucha. I spent 2 weeks in Bucha living with some women who were there during the occupation. They were just amazing, those women. I had a very good time with them, even with the trauma, with everything. So it's mixed, you know. The war reveals many aspects of the human being, be the worst or the best. And it's difficult, not in this film, but in all the films, the question of representation, how do you represent the world? It's difficult when you work in such a situation to give you the freedom to film and to show this aspect of war. Because sometimes people, they just expect war is bad. Only you have to show just victim and suffering. It's much more complex. I am a creation of my own experience. I don't think I'm a bad guy today, but I face many bad situations. Even bad people. I make friendship with some bastard, a real bad guy in war, you know. But it's difficult sometimes to judge. I was friends in Afghanistan with some warlord or some. It's difficult to judge, to say you are a bad guy. I'm coming from France. I know you. It's difficult, you know. So I try in all my film. I always try to show the complexity of the situation. Mix of, you know, I don't know, mix of everything, unexpected.
This is very interesting that you say it's very hard to tell black and white, you know, in this kind of situations. And I was wondering what were if there were any ethical challenges along the way in the documentary with SOTA.
Challenges, what do you mean?
Well, I don't know, any situations where you felt like, I don't know, maybe unsure of a choice you made in ethical terms or...
Okay, there was different problem. One biggest problem for me, because now we see the results, but when you start to film like this, you are not sure of what you do. Do I have the right to go to this place with my robot, to play with the robot, you know, where people have lost everything? What will be the reaction of the people there? As a white man, you know, the time that we have now. It is something that I really did not know. But I felt that I had to try, okay? I had to try. So that, till the end of the film, I was not sure of the results. The path of the film, the way is very, very narrow. You know, if I go too much that way, I won't respect the people. If I go too much, you know, it's something that you have to find your way when you film. That was one big problem. Then the second problem is a technical problem. Even in the film you don't see it, but I spend 95% of my time fixing the problem, technical problem, because there was no connection. Okay. The robot was not working. It was a prototype, and it was not. This robot was not made for the use that I wanted to have. So it needs to be connected with the internet. But when you are in Mosul, it's destroyed everywhere. So you have some GSM in some parts at night at different times. So I tried many things. And the robot, I didn't know how it worked at first. It didn't work at all. It didn't even connect, even when there was some GSM. So I had to learn. I opened the robot after it was a Linux system for the people who make a computer. So I had to learn. I became like a coder myself because the lab didn't want to improve the robot the way I wanted. And I had no choice. I said, okay, we're going to try. We tried to code to add some new functions. Each film is a process for me. It's an adventure, not only in the film, but all around. That was a big problem, but then at the end, it worked.
It worked.
But now the lab disappeared. I said in the film there is no more lab. I'm still there, but the lab disappeared.
But what about SOTA? What happened to?
Sorry?
What happened to SOTA?
I have SOTA with me. I bought it from the lab.
You have SOTA
no,
here?
Not here. Oh. In France.
Because I
was about to bring SOTA because my secret idea at first when I came, I said, well, I'm going to bring SOTA and then I will go directly to Ukraine from Romania.
Yeah.
And then I will bring SOTA there. But I have some work to do. I have to return to France. But that's what I will do maybe in 10 days from now. I think I will bring SOTA with me. But the problem is that it is not connected now. So the lab is closed, so I have no connection. But I'm still in contact with the engineer. You've seen the film, Sasha from Serbia. He's still in Malaysia, now he's a teacher. And he created some other chatbots. So virtually, technically it's possible to connect SOTA, but I have to spend 2 weeks, full day to code again and I don't know if I want to do it now.
So to connect, you mean it's not awake now? Or?
No, it's not. What I did, well, it's long.
My coding language is very.
But when I knew that the lab had some problems, so I was afraid that before I could end the film, SOTA would be disconnected. So I created a second SOTA. But from scratch, not because I couldn't. I had no access for the dialogue part, all the, you know. I could just add some skill over, but I did not have the access to the heart of because it was on the server in Malaysia. But then I created a robot from the beginning. I mean, it's never from the beginning. You use some algorithm. You go to some website and then you add some new algorithm. But I managed to create a SOTA, another SOTA. You have two robots, same, with the same voice. But then I didn't really use it.
Okay.
So I could virtually, but it's too complicated to do it alone.
You could do a next film with two SOTAs.
Too complicated. So, but it could be an idea. It could be an idea. I don't know if in Romania you have a school of engineers. You create a chatbot. And I will travel with the robots around the world, and it will improve. It would be interesting to have this kind of robot in Ukraine now. You could play with it.
Yeah, I think it would be.
The connection are not bad.
It's better.
Thanks to Elon Musk, we have some Starlink almost everywhere.
So I want to ask the audience to raise their hand for microphone, for questions for Florent. I'm blinded by the light, so I cannot really see. There is one there.
For the first day you got SOTA, for the last day until he got this. Oh wow, thank you. Curious from the first day when you got SOTA till the last day when you said he got disconnected or he's not on the internet. We saw in the film that you taught him a little bit Python and he started counting and so on, but did you ever have had the feeling he became a lot more smart and human in this period? Because I'm pretty sure you have a connection with him.
It's hard to say because I think it's a subjective feeling. Of course, the robot learn because you can feed and you learn. You force the robot to learn actually, but the robot is not at this stage yet. You know, I don't think you have a robot who can really learn from himself the world. The robot has no representation really of the world. It has some skills, and it can emulate some kind of skills, human skills. The problem is in your brain. You believe the robot has evolution. You know, the problem is in your brain because we are animals, we are primates, and when we see a small shape with arms. Talking with big eyes, oh, he's cute, oh, he's you know, and then you feel that he's alive in a certain way. So I play with it in the film, you know. Myself, my position is not simple, my position in the film. I play with myself, you know, as a human being, you understand? So the idea for me was at the same time to respect the real skill of this robot, it's not a science fiction movie, but and also to make a film with a story, you know, to improve the robot so that I could play when I add this face recognition or even image recognition, because I added this, it's not the lab. And I don't know if there are some colors in the room, but you have some, I discovered a full world. You have some websites with hundreds of algorithms. You can test them or try this algorithm. If you are like a developer, you don't pay for that. I was a kind of developer. It's amazing the number of algorithms of face recognition, for instance. You can compare them, and then you can just add this. On so it gave me a lot of ideas, you know. But one more time, it's too much work for one person. But you could improve the robot. I have some idea even. You know, this robot was developed with a kind of personality from the lab. In the lab, that's what I like. He has a sense of humor. It's interesting. It just, you know, you feed the characteristic of the robot. You could add some kind of special memory, for instance. When you say learn this, okay, we'll memorize, but you can create some function of memorization with different type of memorization, like human brain. It just you are your own limit. But the labs, they don't really work that way. Just I had some idea when I was using the robot because I wanted the robot to be like this. I was not smart enough to develop the robot that way. But maybe if I spend 3 years, but in 3 years, you imagine where the AI will be in the other lab. It is impossible to know.
Any other questions?
Do you feel that you evolved as a contact with the robot for the years that you had him? So the first question was if the robot evolved to a higher consciousness. And my question is if you evolved as a result of your contact with the way that robot saw the world.
She said So the first question was if the robot evolved during the process of the film, and Ruxandra is asking whether you evolved through the process of making the film with Sota, and in what way, maybe?
Of course I evolved. You know, when you make it in the life, you always have an interaction with what you do. Even if you don't realize it, your friends make you... changing, you know, any kind of process. And when you make a film or creation, it's a dialogue between you and the creation. You are also the creation of your own creation. You become the creator of your own creation. And of course, I evolve myself. I learn a lot because, you know, this one more time, the AI is very wide. What does it mean, AI? Is it magic? Is it... in fact, it is algorithm behind. But even algorithm, what does it mean? And when you go... you pass on the other side of the mirror, you become colder, even if what you do is simple. you see the robot in a different way. Even your smartphone, you see it in a different way. You understand? So I evolved in that. It's like if I learn a kind of knowledge, a knowledge of the knowledge. I realize that what AI is in a certain way. Because before that, I had no idea. When the robot gives you an answer, what does it mean? Is it someone who writes the answer? Are all the answers written by someone? Or the robot creates some answers sometime? And in fact, the kind of algorithm that are used, at least at the moment of this film, because I said that I developed myself a robot. So you teach the robot to speak. When you teach it to speak, what you do, you create some example of conversations, like what's your name? If I ask you what's your name, or who are you? You have to find some different sentences to say the same idea, and then you create some answer, a different kind of answer with the same idea. Okay? When you create hundreds of conversations like this, after you train your robot, and then you will ask questions that you haven't programmed, and he will answer to that question. He will start to answer by mixing the answer with probability. You don't know exactly how, but then he starts to give some answers that were not programmed. That's the way it works. So me, I discovered that. I did not know exactly at the beginning. And I remember when, even with my robots, it was quite a simple chatbot, because I didn't have time to feed the robot with millions of conversations, because now the chatbots, that's the way they are trained, with millions or billions of conversation. It becomes so complex at the end when you train it, that it can answer different kind of questions, and you don't even know how, by which process, what is the connection that the robot makes between the sentences, you know? So, me, I discovered that it was a kind of evolution of my own understanding of the world. That's a problem, if you think beyond that. The problem is that if you want to create an AI better than you, or a very high value with a very high level of skill, it has to escape your own limits. Otherwise, it is limited as you are. So it's not very useful. But so the problem is that because of this, then if the AI makes error, or if the AI becomes dangerous for you, you don't know. You cannot predict, because it has a kind of freedom of its own evolution in a certain way. That's the principle of a good AI. Otherwise, the AI is just a computer, a basic computer. You just teach him something, he will apply what you teach, no more. If you want an AI who can find new solutions, you must develop and code in a way that it has a kind of freedom, of a kind of evolution. Even you have some algorithm who reproduce themselves with some error, random error, so that sometimes, like evolution, sometimes it will create a good solution, sometimes a bad solution. So that's a general problem. Okay, good AI has to have a kind of freedom. It has to escape your own limit. I don't know if I'm clear enough in English.
For sure. Other questions? There too.
Were there moments where, especially in the war zone and with the dead bodies and everything, I feel like I have a stone in my stomach, and it was really powerful and difficult for me, for example, to watch some things? Were there moments where you wished you were Sota and didn't have certain feelings or fears or emotions?
There were some moments of how to say, very tragic, very heavy. Were there moments, like in these situations, where you felt like you wished you were Sota, without feelings, without emotions towards what you were seeing? So without feeling emotion towards war, towards victims, I think I got it.
Yeah, without those powerful emotions that human beings have, and the emotions that our brain creates, like with that intensity. Did you have moments where you wished you were AI and didn't feel that much?
No. No, it's what I said at first. what makes human being is also this capacity of emotion, of feeling something. So it means it can be bad and sometimes it can be good. Love is also a kind of emotion. You cannot just keep, the nature is not made that way. You cannot just keep the good emotion and say the other are bad. You have to accept this situation. You understand? And sometimes, I don't want to shock by saying that, but the tragedy has some virtue. And if you take any people, people like who makes a country, people exist because most of them, they have some memory of some tragedy that happened one day, and it creates also the identity of the people. If you have no tragedy, nothing, if you don't face any problem in life, what would you become in 300 years from now? Maybe like France today. Just a flat...
We will become dust in 300 years.
I don't know, it's a complex question. It's not. I don't wish you a tragic life, but sometimes you have to accept how the process of life itself.
There was another question there.
Hi. I had one question regarding how was your interaction with the people in the different countries where you were. To be more specific, did you ever encounter a more negative reaction towards Sota or towards what you're trying to teach her or to show her? Like, for example, the people who are in the cemetery. Did you sometimes meet members of the family who refused to let you film those moments or to share it with an AI?
No, not really. I didn't face people. That was a big surprise for me, because think about this place. You have a place, you arrive and you discover this place. I didn't know that place. I just followed this group. Then one day I discovered this place, and then I had the idea, wow, if I could activate SOTA, but there was no connection. I had to make an antenna. You don't see it in the film. I spent days because I couldn't. In Raqqa, there was no GSM. In Mosul, there was GSM. So when you have some GSM, you can have internet connection. In Raqqa, there was no GSM at all. So there was just some shops, little shop with one small antenna and like a private Wi-Fi. Okay? Mm-hmm. But I was far, 500 meters, 600 meters from these kind of places. And you never know where you could find a shop. So there was no signal on my phone. I was, trying to find the Wi-Fi. There was nothing. But then, well, it's long. But then I make a kind of antenna. I could find in some shop, and then and this antenna was a kind of amplifier, so I could receive some signal. So you find this area, this field. You understand that daily some family will come. It's very, very sad, very, very tough, It's almost a holy place. I'm not Muslim, etc., etc., And when I was in Raqqa also, I was not really supposed to film what I filmed. I was not supposed to be there. It was difficult to work. There was no war when I was there. But the Kurdish authorities, they tried to control everything. It was absolutely forbidden to sleep there, for instance. I had no right to spend the night there. So I had to drive daily 2 hours and a half, and then 2 hours and a half. I spent some night, I managed some way, but then they caught me. They kicked me out, I came back. It's a long story. So it's always like this. And then you have this problem. Do I have the right? Imagine your position. You see a film. In the film, everything is easy, but you are alone. Do I have the right to go and to set up a robot to film dead bodies in front of those family? Who give me the right? Who can give me this kind of right? At the end, I respect those people, but I wanted to show, to show the reality, the reality. In another way, I wanted to also to bring this question, this issue of AI in those countries, because they are involved in those countries. I wanted to maybe tomorrow, like now, which is now, I wanted the young generation to see this film, so that they will maybe think about something else than only Allah and Daesh. You understand? So I give me the right, with my own experience, not only here, but for 30 years, we started here. I give me the right to show the world with my own experience, with my own right to transgress, okay? To transgress the situation, what is good, what is bad, what the media should do, and what. And at the end, I had nobody. And I was surprised because this robot created a lot of human link connections. The children, they were happy to see the robot. People didn't say, oh, that guy, he has no right to be there, what is he doing? They were interested in the robot. They were interested by this device, you know. So it created good situation at the end. Because it was a good robot. But, you know, tomorrow, you don't know. That's another point, very important. You have to understand that this robot, because he has a good shape, big eyes, it creates some emotional link, okay? And when you create an emotional link with the device, it's finished for you. It's finished, you know? I mean, really, it's a problem because this company behind, they try to create this, what they call affective computing, to create an affective link between humans and computer, so that you will do many, whatever, you know, to help or to save the life. And it's a big danger because one more time, your brain works that way. When you create an emotional link, if someone touches a robot, you will maybe beat the person. It happens with your car already, you know, but with a robot it will be even worse. So this film, you have many questions involved. It's not clear. It's not a didactic movie, but when I made the film, I had all these ideas, you know.
So basically, having Sota by your side improved your interactions with people, would you say, compared to your previous films in war zones?
If it has improved, you mean?
Yeah, if they made the other people more open to you.
Yes. Yes, it has improved. Yeah, it has created this link, and maybe it has also improved. I improved because of Sota. Because of this, I could create also a new kind of links. It's difficult to answer this question.
Are there other questions? There is one there. Oh, there.
So, if you think about robots and how humans first try to use them, you know, like to work for you, a robot, or whatever, just to use them for how they could help you. If you think about Sota, you created a relationship and you bring him together with you, so it's not just let's use this robot. I was wondering what other social context you want to try to put this kind of artificial intelligence, like besides war?
If I want to show other context, you mean, with a robot? Yeah, of course. You know, I tell you a story. When I was looking, before I found Sota, I was looking for technology AI, a kind of AI. And there was one company at that time, it was a big, very strong AI, is IBM. The name of AI is Watson. Okay? So I had a meeting with IBM during a technological show where I found Sota actually. And so I had this meeting with this company which is like corporate, you know, everything is clean. And I could not even explain to that person in front of me what I wanted to do with the robot. I couldn't tell him or her, okay, I'm going to go to Mosul and this robot with Watson will face dash and this, because the companies, they will never follow me. So I had this idea, I'm going to talk about ecology and the robot will be my friend and he will, you understand? So that's for a company, that's good, you know, because the companies, they try, because they must have a good image. But of course, I have this idea. I'm not only joking by saying that it could be possible to create not one movie, okay, this one like avant-garde film, kind of experimental film, but you could absolutely bring this AI with facing an ecological problem. You go to the forest, in Amazonia forest, or you know, it depends. And if you find a way to tell the story, it's something. It could be interesting. Then for the young generation, it's quite original. Then you need a lab for that, someone who will work and program the robot, because I won't do it again myself, you know, it's too much. But of course, it could be useful. I don't know if it will change at the end really the world, but the idea is interesting. It could be interesting to push this idea, you know. Yeah. Of course, you can go also for to hospital, for passion. That's what the company already tried to do. They try to promote AI by showing the good aspect. Oh, it will save the life of the people, it will this and help the old people. It's marketing, all this. AI is many, many things. You have AI in your smartphone, it can decide your career, it decides your partner, maybe the way you will meet your partner, you know, it's everywhere. But yes, this robot, why not? If someone is interested.
I saw another question there.
We see that when people are addressing the bot, they usually adopt a different vocabulary and they try to speak with more logical framework. Do you think that in addressing the bot in a different way, you're trying to address other human beings or only artificial intelligence or even themselves through the bot? How is the link with speaking to the bot for people who are not familiar with the technology, with artificial intelligence?
I'm really sorry, it's not you, but you know, I have problem with my hair because of my job, you know, really,
No.
it's a problem. Sometimes, some frequencies, I don't really hear very well.
Can
So,
you say again?
you should,
Or you can tell me in Romanian and I can translate.
Sorry, I don't speak Romanian.
Sorry. No, can you say again because I also didn't hear.
Yes, of course. When people speak to the robot, they usually speak with a different vocabulary. Like it's more logical and they focus more on logical links.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that when they address the bot, they're trying to address a machine or trying to address a human being that they would perceive in the machine or trying to address themselves through the machine?
So when the other people speak to the robot.
Yes.
So she said when the other people speak to the robot, they address it more logically. Do you think they address it as a machine or do you think they address it as if they are speaking to themselves? Did I? Okay.
well, it's not only them, it's me. When I speak to the machine, you understand that you have to be very clear. It must be sequential sentences. You cannot ask 3 ideas at the same time. The robot won't identify the idea. So you know, you have to simplify or to change the way you speak. So I don't know exactly what is your question, but that's the way I work. With the AI we have now, I don't know tomorrow, but you have to be very clear, you know, because it has some speech recognition, so the word must be identified, you know, so you have to speak that way. That's why I use myself as the companion of the robot, because if anybody come and ask the robot a question, the robot won't answer. He won't understand the question. You understand? Okay, maybe to answer your question, if you leave the robot with people the first time, everybody will come and say, "Oh, how are you? What's your name?" You know, they don't understand the way the robot works. After that, if you explain to them, they will change the way they talk, the way they speak to the robot. You are forced to do it, otherwise it doesn't work.
But what you're saying is that people kind of approach it like a little human being when they speak.
Yeah, of course. It's like, you know, think when you talk to a dog. Oh, this is a beautiful dog. You know, you change even the intonation of your voice, etc. Or to a child, of course. Mm-hmm. One more time, your brain change, you know, and force you to speak in a certain way. So the robot, when you speak to this robot, you will speak to it like if you were a child or something. Yeah.
Are there other questions? Oh, Marcie.
I have more questions, but I'll try to be brief to just one. I wanted to ask if you said you've been to many war zones. Did you find that you kept more in touch with the people you met during this project? Because you were a bit different as a foreign correspondent in the war, not just your camera. You had something unusual, something new. So did you keep the friendships or the contacts with the people you met there more easily because of SOTA, you think?
No, to be honest, no, it's not a matter of SOTA, it's more a matter of yourself. I have some very old friendship with people I filmed even 20 years ago, and that's my problem, because it become heavy and heavy, you know. Sometimes it's difficult to have all this relationship. No, I don't think so. What happened with the robot, it creates a kind of interest, and people who see you with the robots, they don't see you as a journalist, you know, so from their side, the kind of relationship is different. Even with the children, because the children of the family, they want to meet you. So one more time, the robot, how could I say? It helps you to create a wider, you are more open. You catch the old people, the young people, even the women, sometimes the women in this country, that's not easy for a journalist. I didn't use all my footage. I still have some strong, you know, one, it's not connected to your answer, but one of the young Syrian in Raqqa, I met someone who helped me for this film. He knew the sculpture. He was not like we call a fixer. When you work, you have like we call a fixer, someone you pay daily and he organizes your shootings. I don't work that way. I don't even have a translator. I have no translator there. And this guy helped me, and he was almost killed by Daesh a few months later. I still have the connection with that person through the robots. It's, you know, what can I do? He sent me the picture. He received like 4 or 5 bullets. You know, you work in such a situation. The life of the people is hard, and you can't face this kind of drama. And so it's an aspect of my life. That's why I was saying sometimes I want to have the connection, but sometimes you will feel lighter with no connection, because a year after that, you know, most of the people I film are dead now, or they are killed in you know. That's.
So I think we only have time for one more question, and I save it for me, because I want to ask you more questions. But I want to ask you, because I know you were in Ukraine these past months, and I'm curious, I don't know, how you feel in the context also of what is going on right there, and also your past experience, how your approach to representing war and to filming war has changed, and where are you now?
Well, in Ukraine, you know, when you film, the problem is that you have thousands of journalists. There were thousands of journalists. I have like a press accreditation number 1,000 something. I arrived a week after the beginning of the war. So first problem is that you have journalists everywhere. So of course, if you make a news gathering, it has a kind of meaning. It is the way they work. But when you try to make a film, personal movie, find a story, spend time, it's almost impossible. Because everywhere you go is full of cameras, and plus people with a smartphone, and you have the social network. So every day you have news, morning, afternoon. Oh, now we should do this. We should go there. That's the story of the day. Is that the story of the day? It's just a nightmare. It's a big problem, a general problem, not me, but because it's a saturation of informations, and you lose. I think myself, I don't want to be simple. It's not black and white, but you lose a big part of human being, of your humanity in this. I mean, if you don't have the time to spend with the people, at least 3 days or 3 hours, 3 real hours, but if you just spend 10 minutes because you have to feed your social network and this and that. At the end, what do you show, and what is the meaning of all this? Some people proposed me when I was there, oh, Florent, okay, we're going to pay you like 100 euro a day. Just send something on your phone once in a day. Anything, a picture, you know, like people do, social network. I couldn't even send one. I didn't send anything. I couldn't. I saw that if I start to do this, I will lose maybe what I do and who I am in a way, and then the meaning of my work. All my work are always work with freedom inside this. I took my own freedom. I'm French. I have a lot of luck to be French, you know, in my world. I know, you know, the value of my passport. Only the simple fact, even if I am not rich, the simple fact to have a French passport, it's amazing, you know. So I've tried to use this in the best way to see my world and not to stay at home, you know. But now you face this paradoxal situation with many medias, many cameras. We have never had so much tools to film, to show, to represent the world. But at the end, okay, you spend your day watching Netflix. When you are there, you have thousands of people. It's difficult, you know, to work that way. So, what can I say? I don't know. It's a fight in the fight. Try to find the meaning and keep the meaning in what you do. A fight in the fight. I don't have the answer. You know, I spent 2 months. I didn't have a film for my own. I don't think I filmed something really. I filmed many different stories. But so I will return. I will try to find my way. I don't know.
So you will go back to continue shooting, like you are trying to find a film there, to make a film.
Yes, I will try. Yes, yes. I will try to do something, but I don't have a precise idea. You know, you could stop at any story. In Bucharest, you have stories everywhere. You could spend a film at every corner of the street. You know, it's stories everywhere, big stories. I don't know. There is something I would like to insist on. It's not connected really to this, but it's in the discussion. And also it is connected in a certain way. After all these years, you know, of this experience, sometimes I'm wondering, where should I be the most useful? What did I learn really deeply? What is the problem of this war, you know? What is the problem? Is it a problem of Putin or this and that? And I think now the problem, one of the problems, maybe the deepest problem, is that people, they don't realize, most of people, we are not educated to understand the structure of our knowledge, the way we represent our world, the way we represent ourselves, the way we became what we believe we are, because it is a process, it is a dynamic process. We are not born Romanian or French or this and that, okay? It's a process. And this process, most of the time, it's not known, it is not educated, it is not learned. And when you don't know who you are and why you are what you think you are, then you can make war with your neighbor. And you believe you have a good reason for that, okay? So, for me, I would say, okay, I'm making film. And at the beginning of this conference, this young man said that film was very important, more than writing, because it is full of emotion. I don't think that way. I think, of course, it is interesting movies, but I think we need books. I think we need really books. I think the mind, the understanding of the world, it could be experience, of course, experience that teach you a lot, but the books, what the book teach you is much more important for me than the film. Yes, that's what I think. And because the book, you can study the structure of a problem, take your time, you know, give your time to your own capacity of analysis. And I think today, the big problem is the speed. Everything goes so fast, you have no time to read books. You don't read books, most of people don't read books. And to understand this deep question, how your knowledge become your knowledge, how you become the person you think you are, to understand this question, you must take time. And that's, I think, the fight today is, for me, is to understand the structure of your knowledge. You get information. Is it true? Is it not true? That's one of the problems. But how did you get the information? This information has a story. It comes from somewhere. Can you analyze the process of how this information has reached your own level? It is the same in a belief, in a religion. Okay, you believe in God today, but it's a process, 2,000 years. Did you witness the process of these ideas, of this faith, or not? Are you a slave of this faith, of this idea, or are you understand what I mean? And I think it's a general problem today, because all the culture, different culture, all the individuals They rely on the ignorance of this process. If you understand the process of how you become what you think you are, maybe you are not nothing. You have the doubt about your own structure, about your own certainty about who you are. It's like if someone comes and says, your father is not your father, in fact. You believe it was your family all your life, and then you discover it's not. It's vanished. And I think that's a problem today. We have a problem with the knowledge. We must be ignorant of the structure of the knowledge to get some identity, to get some reason to act, to get some truth, to be efficient. But it becomes a problem. And when you are at the moment of AI and artificial intelligence, it can saturate in 1 second all the social networks with fake news. If you don't understand the process of the knowledge behind, be it from AI or from human being, you are completely lost. And that's what's happened in Ukraine with Putin, not only him. They try to manipulate with a very high level. You have some robots everywhere on the social network who make some fake news. You don't even know what is behind. Is it a human being? Is it robots? Is it SOTA? You understand? And it goes so fast that you haven't time to stop, to take your own decision. You must absolutely act now, etc. So that's a big problem. That's a big problem. Same with the question of ecology. Okay, is there a global warming or not? You believe there is, but people say the opposite. If you read, you have good books written about this. What is the value of the knowledge? How do you know if there is a global warming? Are you able at your own level to decide? So you rely on scientists, you rely on other people. You never know exactly. You understand? It's a fog. That's a problem. So myself, today, there is a kind of inequality, unbalance. It's too much now between the tools we all have to produce representation of the world, to produce truth, to produce discourse, to produce words. It's amazing, it's so powerful. And the knowledge of this process. We are ignorant of the process. People don't know what is an algorithm. They don't know. They just use the smartphone. And that's very dangerous. That's what I think. But to show it in a film is not so exciting, you know. That's a problem.
Thank you, Florent.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for being here. And thank you guys for staying. Thank you, Florent.